All right, guys, welcome back. I am here with Kelly Zitlow. She is a rockstar lender out here in Arizona, and she does an amazing job for her clients. She has another rockstar team with her. They are so on top of their stuff here. I will put all of the links to connect with Kelly below, and I just really wanted to bring her on today to give us an update about what's happening in the Arizona market on the financing side.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for dropping by. So this time of the year, I would say if you are a buyer and you are looking to buy right in this season, this is the most opportune time of the year. And I think so many people are like, oh, around the holidays, do we really want to buy? Well, we do, because historically speaking,
Right.
there are less buyers out there, and because people just don't want to deal with the holidays, right?
Yep.
And then those that have their homes listed this time of the year, they probably need to sell their house, which equates into the ability to negotiate in many cases. And this just isn't across the board. So please don't walk away going, well, Kelly said, yeah, no, because, obviously location, price point, condition of the home, etc. It all feeds into supply and demand. But we are seeing in the Phoenix metro area, hey, let's define Phoenix metro area, like the Valley of the Sun. What cities does that incorporate?
So that would include, we are both based here in Scottsdale, Arizona, but Arizona is different from a lot of states. Everything is pretty close together. So when you say Phoenix Metro, all of the surrounding cities are included in that. So we go as far west as Litchfield, Goodyear, Surprise, that out west that way, and then as far north as North Scottsdale,
Anthem, Cave
Paradise
Creek,
Valley,
Carefree,
right?
Yeah.
And then we have Mesa, Chandler, Tempe areas that way. So those are some of the surrounding cities, and then Phoenix being at the heart of it.
Yeah.
So Arizona's kind of unique. A lot of states, if you say two cities, they might be hours apart.
Yeah.
Arizona's not like that. I live in Old Town Scottsdale. Every other city is a 15-minute drive from me.
Yeah, absolutely. And fun fact, a lot of people don't realize, but Maricopa County, which is our county of all the cities that we just mentioned, it is the largest county in the country. So when you think about moving to this area, if you are relocating or you currently live in one of these areas, just know that, it just could be like right across the street.
Could be a
2-minute walk, and we could be in Phoenix. So just a little information about the Valley of the Sun. All right, so when we think about what's happening right now in the Valley of the Sun, we are seeing seller credit towards closing cost. And on average, it's about $8,500. What does $8,500 do? How does that help a buyer?
It really helps the buyer.
It does.
And it really can affect your payment, because right now people are worried about what's going to happen to their payment. They don't want a higher payment. But we've kind of said, sellers have kind of said, agents and lenders, hey, sorry, Fed, this isn't going to work for us. We're going to find a way to get our clients a lower payment still, even with where rates are at today.
Yeah. So many sellers that have their homes on the market this time of the year are willing to negotiate. They're willing to offer some type of credit towards the buyer's closing cost. And when you're working with a lender, being able to vet really and understand what those strategies look like for you is the key, because there's not a one-size-fits-all type of home loan. Every home loan is different. I'd like to say every person has their own fingerprint when it comes to the home lending process. So talking with a lender, better understanding what is your goal, what is your timing, are you ready to go now and take advantage of the opportunity that this market has? If so, this is the time, because what happens is after the first of the year, now more people are going to come back into the market. There might be some more inventory. You might have sellers that are not necessarily wanting to contribute towards closing costs or negotiate. It's just a different cycle. And while there's so much talk out there about interest rates, and definitely they are what they are, but it's not stopping people from purchasing. They can afford the payment.
And the negotiating power is insane.
Yeah.
I have never seen some of the purchases that have been made possible recently ever before. I'm seeing closing costs completely covered. That means as a buyer, that is more cash in your pocket
Yes.
to use for furniture, remodeling, repairs, whatever you want to use it for. I'm somebody like, I like the most cash kept in my pocket as possible. So getting closing costs covered, that is huge. Getting rate buy downs, that is huge. So it is really a unique market, and I am seeing huge negotiations happening that are benefiting the buyers and the sellers. They're still getting what they want, which is to sell their home. So it really works for both parties.
We just had a client, real life client, this just happened, who is relocating here from Texas, and he was very focused on keeping his cash to close at the minimum. His agent was able to negotiate a $20,000 seller credit. It was on a $650,000 home, but $20,000.
I've seen them as big as $30,000.
Yeah.
It's so insane.
So what we can do with that, in his case, we covered all of his closing costs. So he was only going into closing with his minimum required down payment. And then outside of that, we were able to use some of the rest of that money to buy down the interest rate on a permanent rate buy down.
So you just said he got a rate buy down. Can you explain to us in the simplest terms what a rate buy down is? What happens? How does it affect your payment?
I love that. That's a loaded question. Okay, there's two different types of rate buy downs. There's going to be what we'll call a permanent rate buy down. And that is, let's say you're looking at a 30-year fixed rate. Let's say that the going average rate for that day is 7.5%. And let's say that you want to pay discount points to buy that rate down. That would be a permanent rate buy down. But there is something called a temporary rate buy down, and this is very, very popular today. The other buy down is a temporary buy down. And there's all different versions of this temporary buy down, but essentially what it means is that if your note rate, let's call it 7.5% today, that's not the actual interest rate, please don't hold me to it, I'm just using this for an example, but let's say it's 7.5%. If you did a 2-1 temporary buy down, then your payment for the first 12 months of your loan will be based on a payment that's 2 points lower than your note rate. So for the first 12 months in that scenario, your payment would be based on a 5.5% interest rate.
And why is it temporary?
Because the next year, the next 12 months, it's going to go up 1%, and your payment's going to be based on a 6.5% interest rate.
Right. So
and then the third and final year, it's at your note rate at 7.5%, and it doesn't adjust anymore. Therefore, it's temporary. It's a temporary buy down.
So we're hoping that at the end of that 2-year period, you will be able to refinance and get a lower interest rate on the mortgage in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's one advantage of it. But, we have a lot of clients too. Let's say that you're looking at a house that needs a little love, it needs a little work, and maybe you don't have the cash in pocket to be able to, let's say, buy new windows. Doing and utilizing a seller paid temporary buy down could keep that cash in your pocket, so you could go and so you could use that money instead of paying it towards the house payment. You could use that money to do the renovations or the improvements that home needs.
And I think that is so unique because back in 2020, when everybody was getting the 2 and 3% interest rates, they were paying over asking price. They weren't getting any concessions to do those kind of upgrades.
No.
They were, the question that you were asking is how much over asking? Are you willing to waive inspection, and are you willing to waive appraisal? And if you do have to do those kind of upgrades and repairs, having those seller concessions right now are huge, because that could make all of the difference for whether or not you can get that project done. If you could furnish it how you want to, if you could remodel it how you want to. So
I think it's important to know that this type of solution, that's what this temporary buy down is, it's been around for a really long time.
Right.
And it comes into play when 30-year interest rates increase. That's why we're starting to see the conversation. But to your point, that's why right now, if you're in a position to buy, you're qualified, you want to buy, you can afford the payment, this is such an opportune time, because we know that when this thing turns, and it will, we still
It always
have,
does.
yeah, we still have limited inventory across the nation. So that means that right now there may not be a ton of competition, but when people come off the sidelines and come off the fence and they're ready to re-engage, and that will happen when interest rates come down, that competition is going to explode. And you're right. I mean, I've been lending for 27 years, and our buyers, especially in that 2020, 2021 timeframe, they were writing multiple offers, 10, 15, 20, 25 offers, and still not getting their contracts accepted.
If you didn't have cash, it was almost impossible to
Right.
win.
Yeah.
Where right now, if you do need, if you are buying with a VA loan, FHA, down payment assistance,
Yeah.
if you are using those type of programs, the odds that your offer gets approved is much, much higher. If you were shopping with those kind of programs back then, the odds were definitely not in your favor, and the chances were that 3 over asking cash offers beat you out in the first day.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
It was, the grass was not greener back then because rates were lower.
Even though the rate was lower.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing some amazing things happening for buyers in this market that we would not have seen back then.
Absolutely.
So definitely a lot of opportunity. What else can you do with the buy down? Because there is the rate buy down, and then there's lender paid buy downs. So
yeah.
what's a lender paid buy down?
A lender paid buy down works the same way in that the lender, instead of the seller, is going to pay a period of time for the interest rate to be lower. So in our case, we actually have a 1-year lender paid buy down on certain programs, and that would just mean that at our cost, we're going to help reduce that payment for the first 12 months of the payment cycle. So, again, just another.
Combine that with the seller?
Yes,
So
yes. We have all kinds of clients doing that.
That example you gave with the 7.5% rate going to 5.5%, that could have been 4.5% with certain programs if you combined them.
Yeah, if we got enough contribution from the seller to pay for, let's say, the 2-year buy down, we could add the lender paid buy down on top of that, so you could technically have what we'll call a 3-1, which is your starting rate or your starting payment would be based on 3 points less than the actual note rate.
That is insane.
I know.
That
right?
is absolutely insane. And you could potentially get your closing costs covered.
Yes.
So you're getting a lower rate. You're getting, other kinds of perks, concessions. So it sounds kind of just like a win-win situation for buyers right now.
It's important to know that the temporary buy down or a permanent buy down, though, isn't always the solution, because we have buyers that aren't necessarily payment sensitive. They're more cash out of pocket sensitive.
Yep.
So in that case, we may just use the seller credit, depending on how much it is, just to cover all the closing costs, and they're okay with a higher payment. And this is why it's so important to really spend some time with your lender and talk through your goals, the most important thing to you, what you're looking at, like what you're feeling with this, especially if you're moving here, and we have so many people moving here.
Right. I know I have a client right now, and their most important factor is the purchase price. So they're not as affected by the payment. They're like, we want the best deal on the purchase price possible. So now is a great time for them.
Yeah.
Because you can negotiate the purchase price extra heavily right now, especially going into the holidays.
Yeah.
So
Got a little window.
we have a great little window, and I think they're really going to be happy with their decision of making that happen right now.
Yeah. Well, if you have questions or you would like to get pre-qualified if you're not already pre-qualified, or if you are and you just need another opinion, don't hesitate to reach out. You can call or text our Home Loan Hotline at 480-725-0150.
And I will put all of Kelly's information in the description below, so you could reach out to her directly, book a call with her. Their team is very responsive. They will text you back, call you back, email you back right away. They have a big team here in Arizona, and they're all amazing. So I will put her information below. So if you are looking to get pre-approved in Arizona, I cannot recommend her team enough. And you will be really happy with your decision. And again, if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, you can reach out to Kelly or myself, and we'd be happy to help you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.